Hey, what's going on, everybody? Boilon here, and welcome back to another video on Lord of the Rings Home. Now, this has been requested from me for a little while, and we're going to be doing an updated farm guide, free-to-play farm guide on all of the best characters that I think that you should be shard farming for new players and mid-game. I don't even know what a mid-game player is anymore. I mean, the game's only been out for about 3 months. But anyways, if you're not a big spender, I think that these are some of the best characters that you're going to want to shard farm because they're characters that I'm using still, that I'm using in the raids, that I'm building up, and I'm using them pretty good. That was bad English. But anyways, in terms of some of the teams, now I haven't had a chance to use every single team in this game because there's just not a lot of resources in it. Now I have heard of some players using certain teams, and they've told me about that, and so I'll give some commentary on that there. I want to go through the campaigns though and kind of show some of the characters that I recommend you to farm. We're going to start from the beginning and work our way up. That way for new players, you can know whether or not those characters are worth it. So if you're ready to go, let's boil this down. Okay, so we're going to start in the light campaign, because I think as far as when you start the game off, if I'm not mistaken, you're given Strider and Frodo, and then I think you unlock Éowyn and Eothane, and then later on, maybe it's through the Shadow campaign from the achievements and the quests that you get Éomer as well. We're going to talk about these characters, especially as we come through them in the campaigns, and then we're going to go back to the Guild campaign. We're going to talk about that one by one, and all the characters that I think are worth it. And then we're going to go for the store, and we're going to talk about the store characters as well. So let's start here in Guild, Light, Chapter 1. We're going to go all the way back to Hard 1. So all of the characters, they're found in the hard mode campaigns. How you unlock the hard mode campaigns is just clearing the original mode and making sure that you have a high enough level for the recommended for this. Now, we're going to start at the front, and that comes with Eothane. And yes, Eothane is worth shard farming. So he's part of what I would dub the Rohan 3, or the Rohan team as well. Eothane, Éomer, and Éowyn. All three of them are worth shard farming. They are actually my second best performing team in the raids, and they actually can beat the Rivendell Elf team if you have 7-star versions of these. Now, I know that takes a while, and just to kind of give you an idea, if you're just farming this once a day, it does take probably about 2.5 months, I would say, to get a 5-star version through shard farming. So expect that it is not going to be super fast, especially on nodes. It averages about 4 shards a day. Where I got that number is from farming for Elrond for about a month, and that was the average that I got across the board for all of my characters. So it's about 4 shards a day that you could expect. You might get some less, you might get some more, depending on your luck. So Eothane definitely worth using there for the Rohan. Herendil. Now, we've recently got word that Gondor is going to be the release for September. There is 2 currently available characters. Herendil here, he's the archer, and Sergeant Era, who will probably come up later on. I don't think that this is worth it right now for me. The reason for that is because this is a free-to-play guide, and I'm assuming that you're not wailing out on these upcoming characters. And it takes about 3 months for a character to become farmable. So there's going to be 3 marquees on the upcoming Gondor team, which means that you're going to be waiting about 3 months before those characters become farmable beyond 3-star. And I don't think that's really worth it in my opinion. But, you know, we can debate about that in the comments if you want. Yeftu, part of the current Haradrim team that was recently released. I actually do think that this team is worth building. Now, some people say that this was, they didn't quite hit the mark, at least in Guild Raid Chapter 2, where they were suggested to be very good. We don't know what's coming for Chapter 3 and Chapter 4, and I still think this is a very solid Shadow team, and they will be, the other marquees, there's only 2 marquees, there's currently 3 farmable, and I think that's okay for free-to-play players. I think if there's 3 free-to-play available characters, that's good, and you can shard farm them, and then when those other 2 marquees come out, then you're going to be able to shard farm those as well. So I think that's fine. That being said, you know, if you missed the Tibeb the Sage event, then that might be a bit of an issue given that she is the leader of the team, so that'll be up to you. If you missed the event, you can decide to shard farm them or not a bit ahead of time. Otherwise, you can wait until Tibeb is available. Chapter 2. Then we have, of course, we're going to start at the front because it's there. So 2-9, which is Lomian. Yes, I think that everybody should be shard farming elves for the upcoming, whenever Elrond does come back, you want to be ready for it. Whether it's the second pass, whether it's third pass, elves and Rivendell elves specifically with Elrond, in any group with Elrond, honestly, best healer in the game, one of the best characters in the game flat out, and you're seeing a lot of good value with him in the raid, specifically in all chapters. So I don't think that's going to change, and I think that he is worth building. So that means you need to upgrade shard farm the elves, which includes Lomian here and some of the other ones, which we'll talk about. Nuraz, Misty Mountains Troll Summoner. I'm going to have to put a pass on Misty Mountain. We're going to talk about that. I haven't heard of people using a full team, and I just don't know if there's specific value for those right now. Now, Mauher is part of the Isengard team, which is one of the first shadow teams that you actually get for free. You do get Mauher for free, I believe, and you get Ugluk as well, who we'll talk about when we get to the guild chapters. And I think, yes, I think that they are good. I actually wish that I invested further into Isengard. I did not. And I ended up switching to Haradrim a little bit early. That being said, Isengard have actually done very well, not only in the Shadow campaigns, but they're also doing extremely well in Guild Raid Chapter 2. They're kind of so-so in Guild Raid Chapter 1. They're not super amazing, but they have definitely paid dividends in Chapter 2 from some of the people who have them upgraded quite high. So very good damage on Mauher as well. So that combo of Mauher and Ugluk, you might have heard me talk about in a previous video. So definitely Shard Farm for Mauher. Shard Chapter 3. I don't know what the hell I just said. Shard Chapter. Light Chapter 3. Dunland. Hard pass. I'm not going to really go into this right now, but no real value right now. There's like 2 characters of a full team. Rakhma, part of Mordor. He is actually one of the better characters in the Mordor team. My issue with the Mordor team, outside of Ironhide, who is a great plug-and-play character all around, who we'll get to when we get to the guild chapters, there's no tank for the Mordor team, and this causes some huge problems in arena game mode. This causes problems in Guild Raid Chapter 2, where you kind of need a tank to take the damage for the troll. No good healing, I want to say. We'll talk about when we get to the healer version of the... I love the burn mechanic, but there's something missing with Mordor. If you want to do this in advance and hope that there's more Mordor characters that come out, because there probably will. I think Mordor is going to be an umbrella faction, that there's going to be a lot more characters within the Mordor tag. Just like for elves right now, there's way more than 5 elves. I think this could happen very much with Mordor, but for right now, a pass. Frodo. I'm still not a fan of Road to Rivendell. Now, just because I'm not a fan doesn't mean you can't level them up to like level 30 or whatever, because, that doesn't require a lot of investment. So that's fine there. But I think that Frodo's pretty meh. I think of the Road to Rivendell characters, Strider, who you get for free, and Pippin, who is the healer, I think those are the 2 best characters on the team, and you don't need the other characters to make them good. So that's just my thoughts there. Frodo is just very mediocre kind of damage character for being a Chapter 3 character, which is kind of late. Let's start at the front this time here, and we have Wilfin of the Rohan. Now, pass. You don't need it. Rohan 3 is good enough. They're really strong. Orphers, Goblin Archer. I'm going to have to pass on the Goblin team as well. Not a lot of resources. Also very late game farm. And I just don't know if there's good enough value. I wish the Goblins were a lot earlier in the campaign, then I would have maybe considered it. But their whole shtick is to die. And this is not good in campaigns. They might have some value in raids, perhaps, but for the campaign, it's not worth gearing up, especially for new players. Azhack. Now, this is a little bit later on, but as part of that Isengard team, definitely worth shard farming as soon as you get this available. You'll see that I haven't, and the only reason is because I feel like I might have missed a bit of a window of opportunity to upgrade my Isengard, and I do regret this. But if you get to this and you're leveling up and gearing your Isengard, something I definitely recommend for sure. Azhack is one of the second best DPS outside of Mauher. Actually, he might even be stronger than Mauher if you get the star ranks for him. Chapter 5, which is the final for the light campaign, we have Feely, or is it Keely? No, we have Keely, and he's the archer. Now, I've been shard farming him every day. I am shard farming both Feely, Keely, and Fro, who we'll get to in the Shadow campaign. And yes, I do recommend this. Now, we have Biffer, who's had the marquee event, and Gimli, who will be farmable first. And so if you are keeping an eye on this, then I think that this could be a good team, at least as far as Thorin's company goes. But I don't know, it's a bit of a mixed bag right now as dwarves. The rest of the Thorin's company still need to come out. That being said, Feely and Keely are great duo characters, and I think you should be shard farming them if you can. Alreda, part of Dunland, hard pass. We talked about it with the other guy. Just 2 out of 5 characters, it's not enough. So that's the light campaign. Let's move on to the Shadow campaign, and we'll go over some of these characters. If there's really no good use for them, I'm just going to say hard pass and move on, just because there's, in my opinion, not a lot of value. Fro, Gearing wise, I don't think I would at this point until more Dwarves and more Thorns Company comes out, but I am shard farming Fro. I am kind of scared that maybe a 5-star requirement might become necessary for the Dwarves as a Dwarf tag for something later, so that's kind of why I'm doing it. Eowyn, we talked about Rohan. Rohan's amazing, and you should be doing this. Dunhar, also part of the Isengard team, so this whole entire chapter, you should probably be farming this early on when you can. Dunhar is the healer for the Isengard team. Chapter 2, Sergeant Era, the other character for the Gondor team. Not doing it just now. Morsa. I have a weird relationship with Morsa. I don't use Morsa in my 4-ban Isengard team because early on I was using 4 Isengard with a troll Ironhide. And but if you want to use the entire Isengard team, then yes, you will want to unlock and upgrade Morsa. He is a bit of he's a support control character. He's not going to like solo any battles, but he will help apply debuffs, things like that. Grimlers, part of the Mordor team. Again, hard pass for just now, but they may become a better value later on. And you do need them if you are going to be using Shagret, but I don't really recommend building Mordor at this point in time. They've never really been high up on my list for now. Leliel, you will want to farm this if you do want to get to Elrond, and we'll talk about that more specifically because Arwen has become farmable, but it's very late and I can't even do that yet. So in the meantime, the top characters that you could farm for Elrond, hopefully, fingers crossed, that Elladan is not, when he does go in, which might be even this coming week or pretty soon, that he's not in a very hard place, or it's maybe in the light campaign, which is a little bit easier. But Leliel, Lomian, Elro here, who's in the guild chapter, we'll talk about that as well. And who else? I forgot. There is other elves. Why can't I? Naramiri in the guild chapter. We'll talk about them. Uzhan, he's the healer for the Mordor team. Still, hard pass on Mordor. Merry. Hard pass on Merry. However, I am farming him up to 4-star so I can unlock the return, the Sam's event, the Gardener event for the 4-star. It's just there's too much involved. Sam is not a bad character, but all the stuff that you need to do to get him, I do not think Merry and Frodo are very good. I think Pippin and Strider are fine. I just don't want to have to upgrade. The Road to Rivendell are squishy as hell, and I can outpunch about 10k against them in the arena. I don't know. Maybe I'm the only hater here on Road to Rivendell. Then we have Chef Kraska for the Goblins. Goblins are far too late in the campaigns. That's my biggest gripe, and again, not good for campaigns. We have the healer, Feely. So Feely and Killy, absolutely, as soon as you get this unlocked. And then Robel, you heard my commentary on Yeftu. If you don't have the Haradrim Marquee, if you weren't around for that, then I would probably pass. But otherwise, I would shard farm them when available because they're going to be my main Shadow team for me. But 4-1 hard for Shadow is a little bit further down the line, which suggests that you are going to need to build up Isengard to get to this point. So Isengard is probably going to be your first main Shadow team that you're going to be upgrading alongside Ironhide Troll, who we'll talk about. I did actually miss, Shadow Campaign 5. I haven't done much of this myself, but we have Tordok, who is like Bolg's bodyguard. Again, Misty Mountain, not really my thing. Arwen. Yeah, if you can get to this, definitely start shard farming her, but it's just so late that it's going to take you some time. And if you're a newer player, you're not going to get there anytime soon. So definitely start with Isengard to use for your Shadow campaign. Now for guild campaigns. Now, hopefully you can start this as early as possible, because if you're like me and having to farm this after having Chapter 5 unlocked, it kind of sucks. That being said, the best characters in here, Ugluk for the Isengard team, Skip Edric, he's part of Dunland, sucks, not a complete team. Pippin, great healer, great standalone healer, get him to at least 5-star plus or whatever you're comfortable with, and Ironhide Troll, absolutely great standalone large Shadow character. Honestly, plug and play, you can use him in almost any team, and he'll be really good because he has some insane AoE damage. Chapter 2, there is some other characters that you might want to farm, which includes Naramiri. This is Grimpa of the Goblin team. Don't need to bother with him right now. Naramiri is one of the characters that you need to farm to unlock Elrond. Very easy to get the shard farm for up to 5 stars. Probably won't take you very long either, honestly, because it's 8 energy to farm that. So won't take you too long. Chapter 3 is one of the other elves that you need to farm, who is more worth it to at least push on a little bit further, is Elro here, but you're not going to want to use him until you have Eladin. If you weren't around for the Eladin Marquee event, then I would probably personally wait. I would shard farm him to 5-star for Elrond, but in terms of upgrading him, I probably wouldn't bother until you get Eladin unlocked, because they have a lot of synergy together. Chapter 4 doesn't actually have any characters, and neither does Chapter 4 doesn't have any characters. Sorry, they didn't add any, I don't think, here. And they don't in Chapter 5 either. So hopefully that they do add some of those characters sometime soon. That would be really amazing. And the store characters, for the purposes of this, I have this sheet where I have listed everyone that are in the campaigns. I just wanted to show you in game rather than show you the chart for the Light and Shadow campaign, because I think, you know, it's nicer to see the icon so you can kind of know rather than me listing the name. Arena store, we have Aomer, Shagret, and Golbers. Aomer, absolutely. Just all of your arena tokens into Aomer, one of the best characters in the game in Rohan. I've talked about him in previous videos. I don't think I need to talk about it again. The challenge store, Halbarad. He is a standalone, really good healer. However, the shard gain on him is going to be very slow. Because of the way the star ranks work in this game now, you're basically not going to have a viable character until they're about 5-star or higher, in my opinion. So this is going to take a while for Halbarad, but he is still a very good character. If you can get him there, it's just slow accumulation of challenge tokens in order to get shards for him. In the guild store, there's only 2 characters, which is really lame. Miri and Wubete. Miri is in the Rangers team. I would personally put a pass on it for just now. Wubete, part of the Haradrim. Great character standalone as well, because he has a slow-based AoE. He has a bomb that he chucks, and it does up to 2 turns of slow AoE. Very, very good and worth using. I am using him, honestly, as part of the Haradrim team, but I'm also using him in my arena team standalone. Wubete, I've talked about him before, and he's definitely worth it. He's on his way to 7-star for me. I need about 120 more shards, and then I'll be there. As far as the guild campaign goes, we've already talked about that. So this is a chart that I keep up to date, and I add every time there's a new farmable character, and I think it's on my Discord, actually. So that's going to be it. That's going to be all the characters. How many did I mention? Probably quite a few. But just to recap, Eothane, Yeftu, if you have Tebeb, the Sage, unlocked, Mauher, Lomian, Azak, Killy, and then the shadow side, Dunhar, Eowyn, Fro, Leliel for Elrond, Robel, Philly, and that's about it. Now you're probably wondering, how do you get all that energy? Well, hopefully that you're able to do at least 2 gem refreshes per day for your campaign energy, and you should be able to do most of those. Now, of course, depending on how far you are in the game, you may not have all of them unlocked, but at least for the ones that I did mention that you should be able to farm, those are what I recommend personally. And obviously, if you're not that far down the list in terms of what campaigns you have available to you, then feel free to shard farm some of the other characters. It's actually not a bad idea to level some of the characters, especially on the shadow side, to get your shadow team going, even just a level 30. I have some characters that I did upgrade to like level 30 or level 25, just because I had nobody better to use. For example, I did level up Grimpa a little bit. I did use them up a little bit. There are probably some other characters who I did. Pippin I took to 40, Edric I took to 35, Frodo I took to 31. So I used them as a means to an end until I got some better characters unlocked, and really that's about it. Otherwise, you know, don't feel bad about taking characters up to 30. It's just whether or not you want to take them further. I would take a look at some of my other videos in terms of some of the best characters in the game, but these are the best ones that you should shard farm, in my opinion. That's the end of the video, everyone. I hope that was helpful, and of course, until next time, stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you all later. Boilon signing out.